Let's look at some political cartoons that explain why so many Americans don't trust Hillary. In the first cartoon, we see a voter looking at a ballot. His choices are potty-mouthed Trump or corrupt Hillary. Ironically, many Americans will choose corrupt Hillary because they don't understand her serious crimes, lies, failures, and scandals. What they do understand is that Trump tends to be crude and blunt, but that has little relevance to being president. To understand Hillary, we first need to consider the Obama legacy that Hillary will inherit, as she intends to continue in the same direction. In the next cartoon, we see Obama saying Trump is unfit to serve as president. But Obama is not qualified to make that judgment because he himself has failed as president in so many ways. For example, his actions contributed to the rise of ISIS, weak border security, and racial discord across America. Also, look at how Obama is disrespectfully standing on the Constitution, which reflects his abuse of it. In the background, the American flag is in tatters, reflecting the harm he has done to America. Here, we see Obama paying a $400 million ransom to free some Americans who were imprisoned by Iran. By paying this ransom, Obama is feeding the monster of terrorism and encouraging even more kidnapping and imprisonment of Americans. Obama paid this ransom secretly and then lied about it. In this cartoon, a terrorist is saying, "To those who say Hillary has no accomplishments, we strongly disagree." He means that, as Secretary of State, Hillary prematurely withdrew from Iraq, which led to the rise of ISIS. That is, the Shiites started persecuting the Sunnis, who reacted by starting ISIS. This would not have happened if the U.S. had remained in Iraq longer to ensure stability. Here, Hillary tries to claim the moral high ground and be politically correct by welcoming refugees from Syria. But can she be sure that those refugees would share Americans' respect for women? Would they tolerate gays? Would they blame rape victims for their own rape? By welcoming Syrian refugees without sufficient vetting, Hillary contradicts her support for gays, women, and rape victims. About Libya, Hillary said, "We did not lose a single American in that action in Libya." But that misses the point because 4 Americans were killed in Libya after Hillary ignored 600 emails from the U.S. Embassy requesting help. The Dallas shootings are a prime example of how Obama's policies and rhetoric are dividing America. Race relations are worse today than when he took office. Many people blame Obama's anti-cop rhetoric for the police massacre in Dallas, Texas. Here, Obama is saying, "Sorry I haven't done a good enough job of convincing you of how great the economy is doing." What Obama is neglecting to say is that the economic recovery has been very slow, and most of the benefits have gone to the wealthy. Thousands of manufacturing jobs have been lost to Mexico and China. Moreover, many people who do have jobs are working for much less pay than they were earning before the recession. In this cartoon, Hillary says, "I'm going to build on Obama's economic success." But the economic recovery has not helped the middle class much. That's why they are shown standing underwater. As part of a Dirty Tricks campaign, Trump has been accused of sexual misconduct. This cartoon gives a new twist to the word grope, with Hillary groping the taxpayer's wallet. This reflects her plan to raise taxes. Hillary has been accused of selling government favors. Specifically, when she was working as the U.S. Secretary of State, the largest donors to the Clinton Foundation were apparently allowed greater access to her and were granted favors. That's why, in this cartoon, a major credit card is needed to access the Secretary of State's office. This is equivalent to taking bribes, which is, of course, illegal. When asked why she accepted the $670,000 offered by Goldman Sachs for 3 speeches, Hillary replied, "That's what they offered." But it was a conflict of interest to accept money from them when she also claims to represent ordinary people. Thus, she has created the impression that as a politician, she is for sale to the highest bidder. The FBI has described Hillary as extremely careless for emailing classified documents from a non-secured server. However, the actions she took were more than careless. She actually committed crimes that undermine national security and possibly endangered American lives. Other Americans have been jailed for the same offense, but the FBI went to great lengths to cover up Hillary's crimes. They could only have done so at President Obama's direction. During the Watergate scandal, a great national uproar arose when President Nixon's recorded conversations were found to have a gap of 18.5 minutes. In comparison, Hillary's deletion of 31,000 emails is much more significant. In other words, she is much worse than Nixon. Ignorance of the law is not a valid excuse, unless you're Hillary Clinton. Here, the police officer is excusing her for driving drunk. The officer represents FBI Director Jim Comey, who excused Hillary's complicity in deleting her emails, despite a congressional subpoena. When asked by the FBI about her emails, Hillary said she couldn't recall 35 times. But what else will she not be able to recall once she's in the White House? Either she is going senile, or she is lying, or both. Other Americans have been given prison sentences for the same crimes Hillary has committed. Hence, if Hillary were a Republican, she would be in prison too. Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned when it was discovered that she had unfairly favored Hillary against Bernie Sanders. Immediately afterward, she was appointed to a leadership role in the Clinton campaign. No doubt, if Hillary Clinton wins, Debbie Wasserman Schultz will be awarded a prominent role in the White House. Apparently, the White House will be run by a gang of cheaters and liars led by Hillary. Hillary pretends to be a champion of women's rights and human rights, but the Clinton Foundation has accepted millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia and other unsavory governments that abuse women. Hillary thus appears to be a hypocritical fraud. In the late 90s, when Bill Clinton was accused of sexual misconduct, Hillary treated his accusers very badly. Yet Hillary claims to be a champion of women's rights. Given all her lies, corruption, and personal failures, why should voters choose Hillary? Because she is a woman? And because Trump is rude? Surely these are not valid criteria for choosing a president. This cartoon depicts her lies, corruption, and scandals as a stinking pile of manure. But how can that be sold to American voters? Apparently, the Democrat strategy is to hide Hillary's faults and use Donald Trump's rudeness as a distraction. For example, in the vice presidential debate, every time Mike Pence tried to talk about Hillary's crimes, lies, and failures, Tim Kaine interrupted him. Kaine's behavior was quite bizarre, as this cartoon shows. But he successfully prevented Americans from hearing the truth about Hillary. This was a loss for all Americans. Tim Kaine is guilty of cynically undermining American democracy. The mainstream news media are also trying to distract everyone's attention away from Hillary's crimes, scandals, lies, and failures. They are trying to keep everyone focused on Trump's rudeness instead. Here, Trump has to debate not only with Hillary Clinton, but with the moderator too. In fact, Lester Holt interrupted Trump 40 times, whereas he interrupted Clinton only 7 times. The news media systematically ignore Hillary's many faults and keep the focus on Trump's rudeness instead. But Trump's rudeness is largely irrelevant to being president, whereas Hillary's corruption is a valid reason to reject her as a candidate. In fact, Trump wants to uphold America's existing immigration laws, and he wants to prevent Islamic terrorists from entering the country. So it's dishonest for Hillary to accuse Trump of racism. But the news media have repeated the same lie so many times that many Americans believe it. This is not democracy. It's lying and cheating. But Hillary believes she can trick enough Americans to win the election. Some Republican politicians oppose Trump because they want to appear pious and politically correct. But by doing that, they are allowing Hillary to be elected just because Trump is rude. Consequently, Hillary will be able to appoint 4 justices to the Supreme Court, and they could each serve on the court for 40 years. In addition, Hillary will make laws that entrench the tyranny of political correctness. This will suppress freedom of speech. This cartoon shows the real choice for American voters. Elect Donald Trump and put America first, or elect Hillary Clinton and let her corruption spread throughout the White House and U.S. government. Will Americans see this simple reality? Or will they be tricked by the mainstream news media and by Hillary's endless deceptions?